Welcome everyone. Today we will be discussing dealing with disasters through a psychiatric perspective. We have Dr. Unayza Niyaz and Dr. Rojda Sanmez together with us. I will try to say hello to all once more. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. I believe we will be listening to our colleagues, our invited colleagues soon. Now, Ramin, would you like to say a few things before we start so that we can start?
All right. So perhaps we might begin before we go to our speakers who are very experienced and have a lot to share with us today. Perhaps we can just have a brief discussion on the reason we chose this topic. I think one of the most, the strongest reason that we chose this topic is because of the current issue that has been hitting Turkey and Syria, which is the recent earthquakes. So that is something that has triggered the seed group to come forward and decide to talk about it and see if there are ways for us as students to contribute in some way or other. So maybe let's hear some of the participants' thoughts on these. I am aware that we do have some students who are from Turkey who may have had some experience or may have had friends or family or acquaintances. So maybe let's hear what you have to say first before we move on to our speakers. Maybe Farhad?
Yes, hello everyone. Actually, we talk about it a lot with Blant and Rojda, and that's why actually we are looking forward for that meeting because it's high need to talk about that topic, at least for getting information and just for making our mind. And actually, I don't have a lot to say, at least at this point, because we talk a lot. Maybe after speaker talk, I can ask my question. Like that.
Well, maybe, though I'm not a medical student, I can try to say a few things. Our area, our country, is such a place where we usually have some disasters. The previous one, one of the largest ones, was in 1999. And I had experienced that. And in this recent one, we have a lot of friends who have been in the field, who have lost their lives, who have lost their family members. And I know Rojda has a lot to say, but I believe before that, the other friends, Sena, Ekin, Irem, may also say, as Ramin has invited our medical students. Well, I think our medical students prefer being silent, at least for the beginning. whenever Professor Niaz will be ready, we can hear her presentation whenever she is ready.
Okay. I was wondering, do you want to only discuss the psychiatric side of it, or in general, the help of students in disaster management? Is it purely related to psychiatry or in general, I think?
Well, as you wish.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay. I think I'll start with the psychiatry bit first. Or maybe I think I should start with the other one. And I think it's better not to share the slides. It's better to me to talk, because if you keep on looking at slides, it won't be the same thing. What I really wanted to say, that when disaster occurs, the external aid usually comes late. So people should be skilled. I personally think, especially in Pakistan and Turkey, where Turkey is the number one, I think, for disasters, then we come. And we all should, because we've had a very bad disaster too in 2005, and later on small shocks and things. And of course, we have floods. So I think personally that people should be skilled. Everybody, I think, and especially students at university, schools, colleges and universities should be skilled in first aid techniques. That's very important. And in ways to help other critically injured people, how to keep them, put them on the stretcher, etc., how to keep the airway open so that, they don't choke on their own thing when they're unconscious. And I think personally, every house should have a first aid kit. There should be awareness of disaster interventions for them. Other thing is that trained students can help from the start. Students, when properly trained, they can rush to the disaster spot and help the disaster management teams for quick rehabilitation and resettlement of victims. And this can occur, of course, in earthquakes, floods, whatever. They can also spread awareness, which is very, very important, to the and precautions to be taken at times of disasters. I'll give you an example. In Pakistan earthquake, it was and I was personally involved and was there for 1.5 years, every 10 days. And I wrote a book, and I don't know if I sent it to Bulant, but I will send it if I haven't sent it to you. And there are various, it is actually a training manual for handling disasters. And lots of students in Manchester, in Nepal, and other small countries are using it. So awareness is very important, and that I realized in Pakistan earthquake in the northern area, where there's a lot of religious mullahs and madrasas and things like that. And unfortunately, at that particular time, there was, they say in inverted commas, marriage of two homosexuals. So the mullahs, were steaming, and they were very upset. And they said, this is the wrath of God. This is what you did, this greatest sin, and that's why you've got these earthquakes. And people were going on and on saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la hawla wa la, astaghfirullah and all that. And of course, very upset. And it was a disaster. It was a disaster, and we should have read all that. But that negative feeling, that guilt, that our people did this big thing and everybody suffered. So I had to go on and it was very interesting. The students of the Pakistan Medical Association went to that area, and they were very good. They had a local television channel in that area, and there were televisions in every camp. So I went on there, and then I just simply talked to them and said, but look, this is something, not something new. It's been there for ages. You look back at the history, etc. Just let's look at the neighboring Turkey. Let's look at the neighboring Japan. For example, Kyoto is one city at that time. I remember I went there after the earthquake, and they were already rebuilding it. And it's one of the most smartest high-tech city now. So people build it. So it's one of the normal things, a normal environmental thingy, and you don't need to blame yourself. And it will happen. So like rains, like floods, etc., disasters also like that. So that is very important, and I think awareness makes a lot of difference. And then of course one has to say that keep away from the area where there are shocks, and keep away, etc., etc. I won't go into details. A disaster calamity affects the society to a great extent. It needs united efforts to overcome the disaster. And students by nature, and Bulant is the expert, have a great deal of courage and stamina in collective sense, because you're full of, you're just back, you're in the field, you're full of life, and the combined effort are very helpful to the society in case of dire need. So I mean, this is what I think your student is doing. She suffered, but she's also going to talk about it and use it scientifically to help other people. A disaster is a calamity which affects society, and thus the disaster management is essential, where youth plays a role in tackling the situation as fast as possible, because there are few people in the disaster management team, but there are lots of students, so they can follow them. Uh, the basic role student is awareness, which I've already talked about, or educational system should include the training programs to the students from school level, as I said, so that they are acquainted with the helping nature at times when voluntary and spontaneous approaches are essential, and the sake of relief for the distressed and afflicted people. Now, what is the role of youth disaster? I think they're acting as change makers. Youth can act as change makers by sharing information, as I said, learned from the youth preparedness, learned from the training, etc., etc., and helping parents and communities to prepare for disasters. For example, developing a disaster plan or disaster preparation kit, developing disaster plan or disaster preparation. I've already said, sorry, kit, I'm repeating it. Then what is disaster preparedness? It is important to be prepared to use what you have on hand, to make it on your own for at least 3 days, maybe even longer. So I remember when I was a child, and we were living in Islamabad, and my father was in Kashmir fighting at the border, and he was in Second World War. He would always tell my mother, keep a ration for at least a month. Always keep your first aid kit. You never know, anytime anything can happen. And so this is what we tell students, that you should have a kit or a duffel bag or something with basic things that one should ensure if any disaster occurs. These include water, food, a first aid kit, clothing and bedding, tools and supplies, and special items. I think and the item that you may need when evacuating should be deposited and easy to carry containers such as backpack or duffel bag I've already mentioned. So these are important things, and I think Turkey should look at it. Then students can take CPR. They can stop the bleeding, and there's a certified training for it. Online classes through FEMA independent learning. Many of these are free or have low costs for students. CPR and stop the bleed training can help the student to think of disasters before they occur, and when they would be in such an emergency, and they have practiced, and it will be no problem to them, and it will be a great help. You can save so many lives. And what is the role of students in community contingency plan? I'll quickly go through it, then come to psychiatry. Okay, I have time, right? The basic role of students is to be aware of what to do during and after disasters. Creating posters, you can make posters, giving little speeches to little groups, going to the camps. They should have clear picture of command and control so that the chaos doesn't occur in the event of emergency. And importance of education in disaster and emergency is extremely important. As I mentioned before, there is evidence that most injuries, damages, and deaths from disasters can be prevented. And disaster prepared measures such as housing and adjustment, etc., can be made and helped by the students. A student should teach the illiterate people, villagers, how to be aware of earthquakes. That is, precautions to be taken when earthquake does occur. Get out of the building, be away from the building. It's a simple things, but we think we know, but the villagers don't know. The children don't know. They can help the sufferers of earthquake as they can by collecting funds and with the help of friends. they can give it to them, and they should give their old clothes, books, etc. for the children who lost their parents in the disaster. So we can do so many things. They must try to spend time with them to make them forget their sadness. Sit with the group, sit with the children, and talk generally about things. Students have a major role in managing, especially as I've already mentioned. We can, before, as I said, during the training period, organize mock camps in your holiday period in the neighboring villages to train people to cope with disasters like earthquakes. You see, I remember when I was in England, there were lots of fires. Fires broke up. There was short circuit, and I think every 3 or 4 months there was a drill. How the alarm would go up, and we all were told to get out of the building and sit there, or etc. etc. So this drill would go on, and so if there was a real fire, we would know what to do. So similar thing, I think you should be doing as students in your training during your holidays, or in special. You can have special through your institution, through your college, through your universities. Arrange, like you go on study trips and all. Have mock camps where you can practice all these things, and you can be part of the emergency rescue teams. And as you know, as I said, the disaster management, disaster control teams, or whatever, the official government teams, they come late. The first responders only is for trained volunteers at college level and above. And they are very essential, again, as I said, in awareness. And they can also aid in evacuation, water, sanitation, and hygiene promotion. Insist on the concept of retrofitting, can disseminate the pre-warnings, instructions, and can guide people to shelters. They can help to manage human resources. I've already mentioned the funds. They can help as coordinators, communicators, can provide focused voluntary emergency support for the weaker sections. Especially, I think that you should pay more attention to the women's camp and the children's camp, especially where they're pregnant women. Can act as food, water, and basic medication gatherer and distributor. Can organize emergency. You can arrange crashes, shelter for the pets and livestock. That's very important. We forget that. We don't have livestock. We don't have shelters for them. They will go away, and where would we get the milk and meat, etc., etc.? So we need to protect them also. Then they can play. Students do play a very important role in recovery. You can be morale boosters, like say, oh well, this has happened, yes, but we'll build it again, we'll do this, we'll do that, we can have camps. And they can also be shelter vigilante, supporting the police and the trained people. Even in the worst disasters, it's amazing what we have seen in the hospitals in Ahmedabad. The healthcare workers were pretty nasty. There was a hospital where a woman, I still remember, a woman with all 4 limbs were gone. She was just, the body was there. And there her young daughter was with her, very pretty, very beautiful. So when the man with the food would come, he would try and fondle her and do all sorts of things. She was so scared, because if she'd do something, this man wouldn't bring the food or bring all the good things. He wouldn't give it to her mother, and she was very scared. So when I went there and asked her, she was just, her tears were rolling. And she said, every day I die, I wish I had died in the disaster. So that's where you can help. Go to every bed if they're in the hospital, go in every camp, talk to girls, talk to boys, talk to children, they're being abused or not. So you can be morale booster, you can be vigilante. As lookouts for signs of disorders also. You can look around if they're very depressed, they're psychotic, they're whatever. Depressed, as caregivers for elders, pregnant women, children, and differently disabled people. You can help in rehabilitation and resettlement of victims as translators, communicators, and advisors. Now, roles in disaster mitigation. Research into disaster is one of the most vital functions, These days, I mean, the WHO has so many programs for it. You can help formulate local emergency codes for community and other educational institutions. Help authority as data collectors. You can also do so much research. When we were there, we collected data, and see, we wrote several papers. I wrote a book. So simultaneously, you can do that also. Take pictures, take notes. You can be surveyors and maintain records of previous disasters, local disasters, response, census, etc. You can encourage local communities in planning, collection of ideas, opinion, and feedbacks from the grassroots level, protection measures for the local historical sites. That's another very important thing. In disasters, these are, of course, in danger. So, as much as possible, you could think of protecting these, think of that also. Like you think of animals, you also think of these historical sites also. Okay, and now I think what I will do, I will present the other one, which is what Bullet basically asked me to do, and that I'm going to do. Okay. Sorry. I'll go on the slideshow from the beginning. Now, dealing with disasters from the psychiatric point of view. The disaster, as we all know, I don't have to keep on talking about it, it is a major stress. Everything is gone. Whatever we had in our lives has all gone. This loss of life.
Excuse me.
There are.
Would you like to share the screen?
I'll try. I think you're right. This I should share.
Okay. Well, if you like.
No, I have this on other computers, so I thought I'll read from there.
Okay. We can listen to you.
Okay. Then I will also. I think I'll send the slides. Okay. I'll send the slides later on. So there's a loss of life. The result is what? Orphans, widows, and widowers. Let me tell you, sometimes the widowers are worse than widows. You know, elderly, not keeping well, and suddenly the whole family goes. So they're worse than widows. If they're healthy and young, they can still handle it. Then livelihood is affected. Physical functioning like injuries and disability, shelter is gone. And of course, food is not there, and livestock, especially in the villages. Livestock is the lifeline of these people. I mean, they cannot survive without the livestock. They use the milk, they use the meat, they sell it. It's also part of their income. So livestock is very important. It's amazing sometimes. There was a story, a very sad story during the floods. There was a man who had like 4 daughters or something like that, small daughters, and the flood was like really bad. And there was this cow, I think it was a cow. And so he was taking one after other the girls. The last girl was left. And then the cow was almost drowning. Would you believe he didn't know what to say? He said, Allahu Akbar, and got the cow out, and the daughter died. And people said, what did you do? He said, if I didn't protect this cow, then my other girls would be starving for death. Can you imagine that sort of? You said you will cry, Rojda. I mean, I cried when I saw that this is what these disasters can do to you. So this is the problem. And there's no access to healthcare. Normally, too, it's very difficult in villages and all. And access to education, there are hardly any schools or small schools or primary schools. They're all gone, and they're not very well built. The structure is not strong, so they're completely demolished. And of course, leaders and community structures, etc., all gone. So following the disaster, we have to cope with the pre-existing mental disorders which are there. They're always there in any part of the world. In general population, so we have to cope with that, which are the mental disorders which people had before. And within and primary care, the hospital services in the area. So they're there in different areas, and we have to deal with them. Normal psychological response to the disaster. what it's very, very frightening, etc. There we have to support, students can help. Additional mental disorders caused by the disaster and its attendant physical and social effects. So I can go on and on, but you can imagine what happens when disaster occurs, and especially people who have seen their whole family dead. You know, I'll again give you example of a woman, and it reminded me of Sir Walter Scott's poem. And there was this widow who just heard of her husband being martyred or whatever, died in the battlefield, and she was full-term pregnant, and she had a little baby also, and for 3 days she hadn't eaten, especially since she heard this. People tried their best. Funny enough, when I went to the camps, I saw a similar woman who actually was worse off, in the sense that her, again, more or less 3 limbs were gone, on which she was sitting on one leg, and full-term pregnant, and there was a little boy. Rest of the family, everybody died, the livestock as well, and she hadn't eaten for 3 days. And you know, first thing came in my mind was that Walter Scott's poem, and I don't know, like you said, I get emotional, I cry. I looked at her, and they said that she hasn't eaten for 3 days. And I had a person who was a disaster management lady. She, etc., etc. She was from Switzerland, and she was more psychotherapeutically, analytically trained, etc. And so I'm also psychoanalyst, but in Pakistan you don't practice that much. But I do psychotherapy, and I'm of course neo-Freudian, and I do an eclectic thing. But still, the strict Freudian thing is, do not touch the patient, right? Now, like you, I saw her, and believe me, I just touched her. I just touched her back, and I said, "What are you doing? You are a mother. You can't let this little baby starve and be thirsty for 3 days. I mean, how can you do that? The baby is crying, and baby might die in your tummy." And she burst into tears, and she said, like that lady, "Sweet my child." She didn't say exactly in English. So she said, "Sweet my child, I'll live for thee. I will live for you." And she took whatever water or thing I gave, and she started eating. Now the analyst guy, the lady who was with me, the expert, was livid. You know how these people are, that they are sort of very German in their nature, also strict and rigid. She said, "You've broken the law, you touched the lady." I said, "I don't care. She's at least eating, and I'm happy." And I presented this in the International Society of Traumatic Stress in Buenos Aires. And believe me, all the old analysts, all the trauma experts, they were clapping, and they said, "You did the right thing." Psychiatry and things like that are not static. We go by we take it by as it comes. You know, we deal, we have innovations in our treatment. We make it eclectic. We do the best at the time. So you did the right thing. And I went back and slept and said my 2 nafil, and because I was feeling guilty that I did something wrong. But I knew in my heart that I didn't. Then additional mental health disorders caused by the disaster and its attendant physical and social effects also are there. And again, students can help them with that. Loss of pre-existing health, social and educational infrastructure, and human resource. These are the problems. Again, students at different levels can help. And if you have already had training in certain things, you take up those areas. Or you can have the head disaster management person and ask him where you can help, and tell about your expertise you've learned, or tell about the things you know. You can do that. Okay, sorry. Therefore, the common mental health problems in post-disaster, I would just mention them. You know about them also. Universal normal response to the abnormal stress. You know that we'll be shocked. The same thing. And I'll tell you another very interesting thing. When before I went to this earthquake area, I had hepatitis C. My story is very interesting. I had hepatitis C, almost died. So when I just recovered and this occurred, so I just thought to myself, maybe I do something where God, whatever, I do something good so that I go in heaven to heaven or whatever. So I thought I'll go and do this. So we went. Before I went there, a friend of mine who was a pediatrician, just it's next door, came to me. She had been there from the very first day. She said, Neza, I was shocked. There was this tall, healthy gentleman standing around like zombies and not doing a thing. And we were lugging the boxes from the trucks. We were holding those drip stands so heavy. Delicate girls doing this. They didn't have they were spineless. They didn't come to help me. And I also thought how awful. And I just said that. But once I went there and I saw them, they were in a shock state. It was not that they were doing purposely. They were numbed. They were in a shock state. And this is what you should know, that many people there become like zombies. And you need to gradually get them out into things and hold their hands, make them feel alive. And there are exercises and things which you'll learn how to bring these people back into life. There's definite grief and bereavement, obviously depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. They can constantly have these flashbacks, etc. You know all that. Psychotic episodes, substance abuse, though it is not easily available at the site, but if they do have somewhere, for example, hash, etc., easily grows in the villages, so they can use that booty. There's mental retardation and epilepsy. And that's worse because if they do not get the medication in time, they'll be fitting like anything. Rescue and relief work and the frontline workers. With this, there's also, before I go into this, there is profound sadness also during this period in everybody. There's grief, grief in the people who've gone through, who are victims, and anger also. Why us? Why me? And other normal reactions, anxiety, etc., not being able to sleep, restlessness. Everybody is touched by it. I was touched by it. You definitely were a victim. We want to hear that. May not want to leave the scene until the work is finished. People get, we were there and we were tired and we had taken leave off. We were supposed to be there for 10 days, but we didn't want to leave. I just felt they all should have, the schools must start, the camp schools must start, this must start. But we had to restrict ourselves to that structure so that we come back again and again, carry on doing our work, go have lunch, have the dinner, have sleep. So that's very important. Basic needs as rescuers, we must take care of that. Besides the victims, we should take care of all these needs. And we try to override stress and fatigue with dedication and commitment. And each time you do that, each time a person feels better, feel good. Thank God that you could help somebody. May deny need for rest and recovery time. Often we do that. We will not go to sleep tonight. We'll make sure that take turns and do sleep and do rest. So the key immediate task of primary care will be plan, preferably before the disaster, and ensure every worker reads the disaster plan. Support frontline health workers in their roles. You can't be in frontline, but you can support them. Ensure adequate rest and supervision, very important. Establish system of triage so that the only most complex cases are referred to specialists at district level. Access and manage mental disorders according to the WHO primary care guidelines adapted for Kenya, giving appropriate information to clients, families as indicated, treat and refer as necessary. There are lots of manuals, lots of things. Look at WHO sites and you'll find loads of them. Work with other sectors to meet basic needs for food, water, shelter. Communication with relatives and friends is very important. When these people are in hospital, they've already lost half the family, and one or two very key people or the children are in the hospital. You need to talk to the families, reassure them, say that everything best is being done. Mobilize community and social and practical support and group activities. You see, when we went there were lots of young kids and teenagers. They were running around, so we had lots of things. We had groups of small children. We had they were again like zombies sitting there doing nothing. So we did. I will not go into details, but we did 2-3 things. In women, when we sat in a group, they were again not talking. So I had just recovered from hepatitis C. You heard, and I am not religious, but I am a Muslim, and in times of crisis, I've always asked for help from Allah. And so I only remember, I couldn't think of it. And spontaneously in my mind, it came that I'll read Surah Fatiha. They're all sitting zombie, nobody talking. I read, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman, and you can translate it for the foreign people. Very simple translation. It's a beautiful surah, one of the best surahs of Quran. I would say everything in Quran, I mean, for me, is special in everything. But this, I read one day, second day, there were few mumblings in the group. The third day, everybody was, reciting it. And would you believe, after that, they were crying, they burst out with their stories, so the group started. So that's why I think religion and faith and spirituality can be used in disasters. And I've written a chapter in this book. And would you believe, the veteran psychiatrists read this chapter, and they found people in Baghdad war who were treated for PTSD, but they had this very wood-like or stone-like heart. They had no feelings, which is later on called moral injury, because they felt there were no weapons of mass destruction, and they went there and ruined the whole country. And there were stories that these soldiers used a knife and cut the bellies of these women, and the small fetuses were on the floor. Can you imagine? And this thing was like a PSD flashback, and this was not giving them peace. So this man read this thing, and he's quoted me. I'm very proud of that. Quoted me, and he asked all the people to get their religious leaders. For example, the rabbi came for the Jews, the priest came for the Christians, and of course the ulama or whatever, Qari, they came for the Muslims. And they found that it was a great help. So it has a great thing. So you can use that also. And especially in groups, it can help. Okay, then you instead of offering you should offer listening also. You can give suggestions, etc., but the best thing is to listen to them. General psychosocial support, and give general psychosocial support, and ensure links to all the practical assistance. Liaise with local community leaders, teachers, social welfare, child protection, police, prison, NGOs, and traditional health practitioners. We, for example, also contacted the local school teachers, and we gave them little talk about PTSD, anxiety, this, that, how to handle children, how to deal with them when they're in a zombie state, etc., and get them into, again with children, I'll give you something very funny. Funny, no, I think it's a very sweet and a very endearing thing. We went with children, we didn't know. So when I came back, of course, we collected shawls and woolies and socks and things. So there's a shop where they have, they have Urdu. They have small stories for the children, like Sheikh Chilli, Aladdin and his lamp and things like that. We brought that, and they were colorful pictures. So me and my psychologist, and there was another social, we three of us sat in the group of children, not talking, not doing anything. So I started reading, or somebody started reading, and I started acting like Sheikh Chilli said, no, I did it, and somebody did this. So we overacted and did a little drama, and the children burst into laughter, would you believe it? It was so touching. Children are amazing. Children bounce up like that. Remember that. It's the best thing to help children. They are really flowers crushed, but if you give them little water, they get life, they again bloom. So it was so beautiful. I had to become a donkey, then we had a train thing, we were tapping each other, we did all sorts of it. So students were great, and it was very, very rewarding. This is all in my book, and Bulant, I'll send you the book. Then ensure sustained medical supply by ordering well in advance, collect consultation data, etc., etc., etc. When we do start to plan for the long term, when do we start to plan for the long term? There are long-term issues right from the start of any disaster. Need to incorporate them into our planning from the start. They influence how we deliver the emergency and post-emergency cure. During that period where this disaster occurs, depending on your environment, depending on what country you come from, what health facilities, what support, and what NGOs are there, you can plan the future. Now, specialist roles in normal and disaster situations. Number one, we as specialists should train. I did loads of workshops in training the medical students, the regular students, the nurses, the postgraduate students, general physicians, and trainee postgraduate doctors, postgraduate students in psychiatry also. And of course, general physicians like surgeons and general medicine doctors, etc., because they are also there for emergency need. So if they know the basic things about disaster and the psychological response of that, they'll be in a better position to deal with these patients. Then intersectorial support and supervise. This is what we need to do. Intersectorial coordination. Public education, very important all the time. And put posters. I find posters very useful. Not the frontline work because of logistic reasons. We cannot go, you cannot go as students. There are people in the front line, let them do it. They have special machinery, they have different things, but we can be, just as they come from the front line, we are there to support. Clinical work at secondary and tertiary level, we psychiatrists should do. Mental health is an intersectorial issue. Health, education, social welfare, criminal justice, NGOs, traditional health practitioners, we should also involve them. Therefore, mental health needs intersectorial coordination at national, provincial and local level, whether or not there is a disaster. And this we must remember, that we should do it all the time. And in Pakistan, we have only 500 doctors, but the population is amazing. So we need to do this. I don't know how much it is like in Turkey, but I think in spite of the best of everything, we need to do it all the time. Now, national level tasks in disaster, establishment of emergency coordinating structures, rapid situation appraisal, very, very important. They are smart, they're experienced, and they should immediately look at what to be done, what is not to be done. Strategic action plan, regularly updated in light of experience and changing circumstances. It's different in earthquake, it's different in floods. Implementation, plan, and timetable. Supervision systems on mental health for from national level to provincial district to primary level to community health workers. Intersectional partnership for mental health. Partnership with all health areas, as example, child health, reproductive health, HIV, malaria, etc., etc. Steer human resources, media liaison, steer monitoring, audit and research agenda. Multiple things. I think sometimes we need to go into it, but do whatever you can. I think one gets very flabbergasted or very overwhelmed by all these things. I personally think you make your own plan, make your own timetable and do what you can. And that is good enough. That is good enough. You can't do everything. One of your classmates or one of your group members is very good at taking data. Other is very good practically to talking to people. A third person is good at that. So do it together, make a plan, and the evening when you come and have a dinner or something or whatever, chit chat, then discuss it. And you can support each other. Disasters have second disaster. Remember that. Now, what is second disaster? Lack of coordination. If after the disaster you do not coordinate, it can become worse. We need all outside help to be coordinated so that we do not duplicate or leave gaps. You see, coordination is very important. The same person, one person is doing, so many people are doing the same thing, though they are needed in different areas. So coordination and knowing what people are doing is very important. And there is consistent with over plan. It should be consistent with the overall plan. Support local structures, build local capacity, work sustainably so it does not collapse when donor money is withdrawn. So money will come for a short time, but it doesn't mean we are always waiting and begging with a begging bowl. And this is what we've been doing in Pakistan. It's so awful. We have a very bad political situation. Please pray for Pakistan. I mean, I feel that we are the wonderful.
Unais, again, I will be interrupting. Sorry for that. For the loss of coordination, I think Rojda may have lots of experiences.
Good. So I stop.
No. Could you continue after her giving examples?
Sure.
Would it be okay?
I think I've gone too much and my throat is also dry. I'll have a little sip of water. Carry on, Rashida, and I'm dying to hear what you felt and what your experiences are and what do you suggest. Yes, please go on.
Thank you so much. Maybe some of you already knew me. I live in Adıyaman, in Turkey. And this city is one of the most affected cities by the earthquake and one of the most devastated, I can say. Oh. And so, yeah, maybe, I don't know, there are many things to say, but maybe we can go through the lack of coordination, first of all. Yeah, when we were hit by the earthquake, I woke up that night at the very beginning of the tremors, and yeah, the emotion that dominated my mind was surprise, really. I wasn't expecting something like this. And actually, we all, me and my family members, we put on something thick over our pajamas. And I really regretted, for example, that we did not have a disaster kit at home. And actually, this year we did a study before my graduation in our public health department. We did a study on our awareness of disasters that can happen where we live. But I realized I did not know anything that can happen to me in my region. So that was a quite shock for me.
Yes.
And yeah, I live in this region. Actually, it was kind of hidden by some authorities, like some state administrators, because there were some specialists trying to warn us there can be an earthquake in this region. So I was always busy, I was working, yeah, I was doing something, but I did not know really. I wasn't expecting this was coming. And it was really terrible. It was a big thing. As you see from the magnitude, it was like 7.7, and it was not only one, it was more than one at a time. 7.7, and then maybe it was two earthquakes happened at the same time. They said the time was like, it lasted more than 1 minute. And yeah, maybe I was lucky because my building did not collapse during the earthquake. We went out and the aftershocks were coming already. Yeah, it was quite terrible. And I did not really understand at the very beginning how the dimensions of the disaster. I couldn't understand. I understood it because it was night. And actually what was worse was it was one of the coldest nights in my region. And it was, our schools were on holiday. Nobody was going to go to school in the coming day. And I was planning myself to go to work. We are working in shifts. I'm working in emergency room in a state hospital. And I was going to work in this morning. And then, we woke up with this earthquake. Some couldn't wake up, of course. Yeah, they died in the earthquake. So, we woke up and we woke up to a world. It was totally changed. It was totally different. And yeah, when I first understood it was dark outside. I couldn't see anything, the electricity gone. And later, I saw a building just next to our buildings. And it was totally like zero. I couldn't see anything. And there were some people already came there trying to get voice from the rebels. And first reaction was we tried to call others who were really close, tried to reach our relatives. We said, "Oh, are you okay?" I was lucky, one of the maybe luckiest person in this region because I did not lose anyone very close, at least not first degree relatives. But this is a city where everyone knows each other. We are like a big, huge family here, and we really know each other very well. And so this is a very big loss for us because, there are many people that I only saw the other day and I couldn't see anymore later. And there was a lack of coordination. And first on social media, even our city holder, he went and said, there is nothing. happened in this city. He declared something very wrong. And we were not prepared, we were not aware of it, and there was no coordination at all. And we were just ourselves. I remember I went to the hospital in the morning. People came to hospital, just came by the help of others, just their relatives, and who could rescue them from the rebels by their own effort, I can say. And it happened this way until the third day. And it is a very long time in these very bad circumstances, because as I told you, it is one of the coldest days, one of the coldest weeks. It was snowing, it was raining at the same time. It was finding -5, -6 at night. And I couldn't believe how can survive. How could they survive really under the rubbles? Maybe they were lucky. They could have a blanket before their building collapsed, I don't know. Yeah, we were in the hospital who could came. The staff could came at least. Yeah, we were there. It was a total different site that I saw for the first time for my hospital. I can say we were all there, our specialists. We were in the emergency room. Yeah, we were welcoming who come to there. And then we were hit by the second big earthquake when I was at the hospital. It was unbelievable, and I started to cry, really. I went out. I said, how could it be happening here, really? Some people, they were in the hospital. We were trying to give help to them. But yeah, for example, our surgery room was closed. We couldn't perform any surgeries in our, where we live. And we couldn't send them to anywhere close because we were just surrounded by the cities who were hit by the earthquake. We couldn't send them. And yeah, many people just died waiting in front of my eyes. They were rescued from the rubbles. They were brought to there, but later I couldn't help them. I just tried to say some of them. Somebody came, and there was a big infodemic. I can tell you this. There was information, there were many informations coming. And actually this was just a big burden for me because I really wanted to help. And I was hearing like coming information. Some say there is a possibility of, for example, a helicopter ambulance. You can send them by this way. I'm trying to coordinate. I'm trying to ask it to someone, but nobody knows actually how it goes. I found myself in the coming days in some WhatsApp groups where I can maybe help people when I can. And also, for example, I was lucky. There were many people from, graduates of my high school, graduates of my university. They tried to send help, some humanitarian aid to my city, but I couldn't coordinate really. I couldn't know how to say, yeah, you can come to this place. In the first 3 days, we only had humanitarian help and volunteered people. There were no government or any directors of my state. There was no one. We just waited and tried to help as long as we could. And yeah, later after the third day, some more organized rescue crews arrived. And some of them were from other countries even. And even at that moment, some said, for example, why not our people? Why some other people coming from other countries? Some different opinions like this. There was a total chaotic situation, I can say. And later, yeah, I tried to, and I couldn't, myself, we couldn't understand how the help from other regions was going to come. So we tried to organize ourselves, saying that, okay, we need to, as being doctors, we need to go there, we need to plan ourselves. But I did not want to leave my family alone because I was afraid myself. I didn't want to lose them. I didn't want to stay far away from them. And I couldn't, for example, call them because there was no connection. I couldn't find my first meal until like 15th hour. I went there in the morning. I tried to help people. We were asking for food because we said we cannot, my blood sugar is going down. I feel dizzy. I feel already shocked by the earthquake itself, but I couldn't find anything to eat really. And my family went to go through all the city. They tried to find a bread just to bring me. They couldn't find it anyway. And yeah, it was very, very bad in the very beginning, I can tell you. And after 1 week, in the first week, I tried to say, we couldn't find a tent to stay in. Actually, my house is not heavily damaged. It is very lightly damaged. I was lucky, as I told you. Now I'm living in my apartment. But in the very beginning, also aftershocks they were very intimidating. We didn't want to stay in. We couldn't say, okay, we were safe inside because we also heard many buildings collapse later in the news. And I did not see anything in the news because I didn't go online. I couldn't go. And later, maybe I couldn't understand myself. There was a chaotic feeling in me. I was really overwhelmed by the situation itself. I was a victim of the disaster. I needed to give help. I really wanted to give help, but also I couldn't because everything was so chaotic. There were no coordination, no organization, nothing. And I was just in the middle of this. And my family, of course, they were proud of me because I tried to do so. And I wanted to, for example, there were some equipes, some teams coming from other countries. I said, okay, I can go and help for the translation if you need. I can go there whenever I am free. For French, for English, I can do it if you want. So I found myself in the groups, but later they said it is not related, okay, or they are separated from this team. Yeah, everything was so messed up, I can say. And later, humanitarian aid came, okay. But later what we found is, as there is no coordination, some people try to get it like a looting, and we couldn't really arrange things. Some wasted in the middle of the roads. You can find some clothes just nowhere. Yeah, and later they tried to show it in the news saying that, oh, we are sending this aid to this region, but see how it goes. So these people are just messing. But there is no coordination. You cannot educate all these people just after this shock. What you can do. Anyway, later, 1 week, at least we found a tent. I couldn't sleep, as you can expect. I couldn't sleep in these days, but still I worked at least in 3 days. Once per 3 days, I went to the hospital. I tried to help as long as possible. And later, the first help came after, I can tell, as doctors, they came after 1.5 weeks later. They volunteered at the first day, on the first day of event, but government did not let them come here, actually, I can say, or some authorities. And later they came with an assignment. They couldn't really volunteer it, but they said, okay, we are trying to organize things. We wanted to be organized, but there were some gaps, as Dr. Niyaz said. There were real big gaps in between the aids, and also people came to this region. I don't know if they really could understand certain things. They wanted to show off at times. They came, they took a picture, and they went. And I couldn't really believe some of them. And and after all this time, there are many more to say, but I can at least tell after, it has been 1 month, it has passed. And now I'm seeing more and more, as it is a process of normalization. Yeah, we came back to home. Some people already established in a tent cities, some small towns built of tents, and there is, I mean, I think the construction has not started yet, and also the rubble not removed, many of them. We still have a devastated city just in front of our eyes, and there are many, I'm sure we are expecting many public health problems, like there is a big air pollution. I can say some communicable disease is also rising, and we are trying to help, but also the psychological burden is very big, I can tell you. For example, at least yesterday, I experienced it really, because there were many people, many children who came with falls. I'm sure they were in the 10 cities, and their parents could not see them. So they were playing. It was not safe. The environment was not safe. So they fell down and they came with some, wounds and all this bruises. They came by this. And there are many anxiety attacks coming. And there are many intoxications. They find some medications, I don't know where, because everything is so unplanned. They found some medications. Some of them are children, just took, for example, antihypertensive drugs of her grandma. She took them, and her parents even could not realize until 1 or 2 hours. And they came with that, and some of them may be suicidal. I don't know, but I got these cases, many of them yesterday just. And I think it has been 1 month, and from now on, the psychosocial effects will be apparent more and more from this point. I feel so. And we are not, if we are not supported, we are ourselves not, we are also fragile. We are also affected by this disaster, and we need help. We need it to work. Actually, they said, for example, there are flexible work hours. We will decrease your working hours, but they did not let us do it. It is just like a show. I don't know. I have been working in the hospital. Okay, I gained a lot of skills, I can tell you this. But I don't know, it should be this way. Yeah, I really feel like there are some flashbacks in my mind. I sometimes just see something, out of sudden I start weeping, really crying. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm trying to get also myself psychological support. I'm inviting my colleagues, everyone I see, to get some psychological support, but there should be something organized, really. I can lead these people who comes to hospital. I can say them, you can go to this place to get this. Or we can, I don't know, it is very hard. I cannot explain even to my colleagues. So thank you very much, Dr. Niaz. Everything you said really meant a lot to me. I saw it myself here, how important they are. But really, we were not prepared. We were not aware of the disaster. And it hit us. Also, as Professor Joshkin said, my dad was also affected by the earthquake, which happened in 1999. But he said, it is not comparable even what happened here. He said it was really, when we compare, maybe this is going to raise awareness for the coming earthquake that we expect in Istanbul, for example. But we are now all just saying, why this is all happening to us in this country? First, yeah, the numbers of pandemic were just not real. Even now, they say 40,000 people. I am sure at least 20,000 died in my city only. I can tell you this. The numbers are not real. So yeah, as I told you, there are many things to say, but maybe Dr. Nias, you can go on. And if anyone else has a question, I can also answer, or an advice I want to hear.
Actually, I can tell something. It's possible. I see that there. Actually, I also want to say to Dr. Niaz, because I see there's a main between your speech. It's like actually it came from being unprepared for that disaster, because when a more, how can I say, effective mode, because you know what to do and how to react. But from the speech of Rojda, and we talked a lot, I see that actually your unpreparedness to such kind of disaster make you vulnerable when you're in such kind of disaster. I mean, if you had education, or if you know techniques about what to do after that disaster, maybe you can manage at least your psychological process, or besides you much better. But when you're unprepared, it's like you also don't know what to do, and you like stuck that place, and actually you just get collapsed in yourself. That's why at least from my point of view, I'm also living in Turkey, but not in that area. At least I should try and my best to learn whatever about that disaster, and how can I be prepared, and what can I do in future, because it can happen in any place, and maybe it will happen to me in future, and I need to be prepared to help me and who beside me, because it's a actual main point in that case, I guess. Because when Dr. Nias talked, she talks that we need to that, and it even itself give you some self belief, or just self-esteem that you can do something. But if you don't have that information, it's like you really don't know what to do, and it just make the situation miserable.
I agree with you. I learned what to do just at the moment myself. I needed to do so because I wasn't really prepared. Actually, as Professor Nias said, it is a country of disasters, actually. But we are not prepared for many things. We are just spontaneous in many things, unfortunately. And even I can tell you, I just tried to push the closet not to let it fall down during the earthquake. That was what I did. I didn't move to somewhere else. I didn't want to cover myself. I didn't do anything. I couldn't. But I heard that another person who experienced another earthquake in Turkey in the past, in one of the cities of Turkey, she said she was really prepared, but she was also totally afraid when she said, now I am living what I'm afraid of. But she was prepared. She had a bottle of water just next to her bed. She had enough place to just cover herself. And she was really prepared. And I didn't hear this from anyone else. But yeah, this is awareness that we don't have. But when it happens, when we have the lack of water, electricity, many things, when we have this, as also Dr. Sartorius said, I listened to his speech later. And as he said, until now, at least, until 1 month, we couldn't do anything else than providing us shelter, information, and some basic needs, really. We couldn't go further because we just needed water to survive. That was the truth. And I feel like there is a crack formed just after the earthquake between us, people living in this region, and the people outside of this region. I feel this way because even though the technology is super high, everything is super, everything is so, they say the world is a global village, but still there are big distances. But I am really affected and thankful to all these people who really tried to help us. And I felt really emotional from the very beginning. I was like, oh my God, yeah, we didn't have really a state who is helping us, but we had very warm-hearted people. They tried to help. They came to our region, just volunteered. They left their places just to come and help without asking to anyone. Some came, really. And I am really thankful to these people and anyone, really. Now, some of my friends, some people that I even don't know, they call me and they say, if you need, you can call us. This is also something that we need. We want to help you and we want to provide you this help. Actually, this is something not from one side only. They also want to give this. They feel the feeling of giving help, and I need help. So we need to come close, maybe. I don't know.
Rosta, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I don't think I can ever understand what you or your family is going through. I'm just wondering, what are some things that you would suggest that students could do to help the situation?
Yeah, we tried to talk about it with Dr. Joshkun, really. And unfortunately for now, the distance doesn't really help, but at least in Turkey, for example, in different cities, we thought maybe some of us living in different cities, there are some people moved already from this city, from those cities to other cities. They try to build a life for some time at least there. So maybe they can provide help because some people, some children, some of them went to, they were transferred to this hospital and they are amputated, for example. They lost their extremities, they lost many things, their family members. So they really need psychological support, I know. And they are now far from the disaster itself, maybe, but they lost their home. And yeah, there are many things to do, but you know, at least me being here, you're giving me this chance. This also helps me. So I'm thankful. Maybe I really don't know from where to start, what to do. Really, it is coming to me spontaneously when Dr. Niaz talks, when somebody else says something. I understand it at the moment, but I cannot really plan myself for now. I'm not able to do it, unfortunately.
Okay, Roshda, I have to say something. I am myself so moved, and I've been through so many personal bereavements, tragedies, and earthquakes, and this, and I'm a psychiatrist, I'm a psychotherapist. My heart is full of, like a sponge, there's so much pain, but I gradually get out of and put it on one side and carry on. Now, what I can say, where do you live?
And Dr. Niaz, I couldn't follow you, maybe. Is it about my internet connection or?
I'm afraid we all have difficulty in listening to Dr. Niaz.
Where do you live?
I live, if you ask where I live, I cannot hear you properly.
She lives in
Oh, really?
Adıyaman, in one of the cities affected. But we can't hear you well, Unaiza. You may try closing your camera. Oh, go on. Is there anyone who heard what she said other than asking where Rojda lives? Probably she will come back, I hope. Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm sorry I have to leave soon after this, but just to say thank you very much, Rojda, for having shared your experiences with us.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank God for that. Okay, what I'm saying is I myself, I don't know what to say. I'm in a very strange state of mind. Okay, what I can say, because this is what my father used to say. As I said, he was a soldier. Whatever's happened has happened. Okay. Now you say to yourself, what can I do now? Okay. The first and foremost thing is shelter and basic needs. Do you have shelter and basic needs? Food, water?
Yes, now
Yes,
I have.
now you have. Okay. What I would suggest, as I was asking, are you in a village or a city?
I am in the center of city Adıyaman, but I work in another town.
Yeah, but is it a large city or small city?
It is a small city, but now all just destroyed, I tell you.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, do you have a medical college? Do you have medical university there?
University is now not working actually.
Okay. Are there some junior doctors, trainee doctors, psychiatrists? Are there some young people there?
Yes, now I heard, and I'm in a group of psychiatrists actually who came from other cities to help.
Okay. Okay. So what I would suggest that those who are younger ones, at least take people in a group form. I think in this particular calamity, anywhere, you can't talk one-to-one basis. Take group of women, take group of children, take group of men or elderly, and talk to them and ask for their needs and give them support in the sense that at least you've got shelter, you've got roof on your head, you've got food, etc. Things are being done. And gradually things will fall in place. It's happened everywhere, and it's nothing new. We are not the only ones, and even in Turkey, so many earthquakes have occurred. I know Mateen Bajaglu. He helped us a lot. Have you contacted him? Contact Mateen Bajaglu, his team, and I think Bulent, you need to talk to him, and maybe he has certain people to help you. He's one of the experts, and he helped us a lot. He guided us, etc., etc. At that time. 2005. So you have lots of experts there because you've already had.
Noiza, may I suggest something?
Basic needs. Yeah.
I think there is a connection issue.
Yeah, probably. Unaiza, are you hearing us? If so, you may try closing your camera. Just talk on, yeah, please, just talk. It doesn't help as well. Rodrigo, you were saying a few things before you leave, I think.
Not much really to add to what Professor Nia has already said, but yes, again, just to emphasize, thank you, Rojda, for sharing your experiences with us. It's clear that it has been very hard times, and they still are.
Now, yes.
I'm thankful to see you here all.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but there is a problem with connection. I understand.
I know. But what I'm trying to say is, you will inshallah get out. Help will come. And Turkey is a great country. People will come. I know the media was awful. They said awful things. They said that there was nothing going on. But I think the media people should be contacted again, and they can spread the thing around. And we can ask all the friends who call you, send something. Come if you can. I wish I had health and energy. I would come and help you. Believe me, I'd love to come and help you. My arthritis is bothering me. Otherwise, I'll come and help you. And anybody will help you. All these guys, they're here, they'll help you. You will get out. These things come, but you need some time, but you need encouragement. You need to keep your morale up. And are you a believer? Do you have faith? Are you a believer?
I have faith.
Yeah. So pray, because that gives you a lot of strength. And you will inshallah emerge as you were before, and even stronger.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
On these occasions, I feel I live a little longer, become a bit more stronger, and help people. I really, really wish. You are a great woman, but I think you need to get out of this state, okay? Come, put your feet on the ground. You are alive, you are healthy, your family is all right. Alhamdulillah, okay? And things will come, things will go. Wars comes, disasters comes, they will go. But inshallah, things will be okay. And do whatever you can. You can't completely bring the city back to normal side. It will be different, but it will happen. It will happen. And we are all with you. Your wonderful Bullant is with you. Anything happens, call him day and night. He's ready. Okay? And I think all the guys, maybe if she's near you, go and spend few days there. Go and spend few days. Because I think we need support. God bless you all. I'll deep down pray to Allah and say, get this poor Roshda out of it. She's a strong woman. Inshallah, things will be all right. It always happens. It's nature. It's life. Life goes on. Okay?
Thanks a lot. You have always been very helpful. Thank you. I think time is coming to end, at least for this meeting. Rodrigo, you were saying something. Yeah, we are together with our...
Rodrigo, you need to take some time and go to Roshdas. Do something. It will be an experience of your lifetime. If you can. Because my arthritis was bad. I was very ill, but he told me, you're an expert, please. And look, today I'm so energized, and I'm talking and I'm saying things. So if you really want to do it, you can do it. You will do it, inshallah. Okay? And this is temporary. All these little things are temporary. You do rise above it. Human beings have great strength, and you're young people. Okay? So don't lose hope. This is life.
I don't lose hope, and I still feel strong. And we are the survivors, and we need to learn something from this to help others.
Yes.
I believe so.
Yes. Inshallah, this next spring, your city will be full of blossoms and roses, and you will then think, oh my God, last year it was earthquake. So life is like this, okay?
I hope so.
Before Ramin closes, would Miray, Irem, or Ferhat like to say a few words? Otherwise, Ramin will close the meeting.
Yes, I also would like to thank you, Rojda, for sharing your experiences, and I would like to really appreciate your power you have. So you showed such a resilience. You can still see your lucky size you experience. You still can be thankful to life. I think those are really meaningful things, and I feel like you're really strong. You're really resilient to come over that. I really appreciate, and I'm really impressed by that. Thank you for sharing with us. It was also quite impressive and inspiring for me, for my life as well. I mean, we have a lot of things to learn from us. And I think the preparedness, disaster planning is so much important for us. We learned that we should have learned how to manage disasters in medical schools, where to where to call, where to seek help. We should have planned all those, and we should have known when this happens what to do. But we all don't know that. They don't teach us that. They don't plan it. But we should have learned. We should do this planning and preparedness in our country, which has this high risk of earthquakes and other disasters. Thank you very much, Rojda, again. It was really meaningful, and I'm glad to see you that strong and powerful. We of course will overcome those difficulties and barriers.
Definitely,
and we'll see
definitely,
good days.
definitely.
I now I understand it. I understand that we are going to do it together. I really feel it. So thank you.
Start writing. Start writing. You know, this is the best time to start writing. Get a little notebook and keep writing about your emotions. And later on, when you get time, you'll have a book which will be amazing. Start writing. Start writing notes, technical things for a scientific paper and an emotional experience, whatever you talked about. Start, and this will also be a diversion, and this will be a catharsis. Okay?
Okay.
So me also, I just want to thank you both Dr. Niaz and Rojda. So I actually, as a country, we had a terrible experience, and I also have loved ones and my family members in the earthquake area. But I mean, it's obviously incomparable to what Rojda has lived and said. So I just wanted to say that. So Rojda is my closest friend from high school. So I have known her since 12 years or something. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of her, and we are so proud of her for all things she has done so far. And we are near you, and you have all of us. And we are so proud of you.
Thank you. Iram was one of the first people really around me who reached me, and really provided help. And she said she is there whenever I call her. She will be available, and I really appreciate it. It is nice to see her. We couldn't meet in these meetings, even though we are really close friends. We couldn't find a common time to meet it here. Yeah, but we know each other from the high school, and we actually studied in a dormitory, so in a boarding school. So we stayed like 24 hours together. It was like we were like siblings, and now we are still, and I feel it so. So yeah, I'm really thankful for seeing here. I'm really glad to see here, really.
Thank you very much to our speakers and to all the participants for this very slightly lengthy than usual meeting, but it's a very important topic for us to address and to discuss. I think one of the most important takeaways that we got today was the fact that we should try to shift our paradigm regarding disaster management away from the relief-centered or curative management towards preventive and preparedness. So I think this is something that all of us can take away and go back to our respective communities and try to read up on it and try to come up with some level of preparedness at our localities as well. in the event of, touch wood, some unfortunate event. So with that, I think we can call this meeting to a close. And thank you once again. And I wish everyone well.
Thank you.
Hope to see you next month.
Thank you. See